enough, if you don't have a trust set up right now, and on the way home today you get hit by the proverbial bus, what's going to happen is your spouse or parents or close friend or lawyer are going to have to go through probate. And probate is the process of transferring assets out of your personal name and into the names of your beneficiaries as chosen by the state of Michigan. And so the first thing that someone's going to have to do is file a petition, and then probably wait 3 weeks. And then they're going to have to start gathering information about what all of the assets you had were, and they're going to have to file that with the court. And then they get the pleasure of waiting 4 months, while all of your creditors get to come out of the woodwork and say, I had a mortgage on that real estate, she had student loans, she had credit card debt, he had an auto loan. Then you have to do an inventory, then you have to appraise assets, and the process goes on and on and on. It typically takes about a year. That's about as quickly as anybody gets through probate these days. During that time, all of your assets are frozen unless the judge says you can go out, or someone appointed can go out and do that. So you can see where that creates some real headaches. If I died today, well, my wife's got to make sure that our mortgage check gets paid every month, and if that checking account's just in my name, well, she can't write that check. She'd have to go to the court and get authority that she can make those monthly checks, or write those monthly checks out of my account. The costs of probate vary greatly. Somebody did a study that said typically it costs about 7% of whatever your total net worth is. So if you die with $100,000, you can plan on $7,000 worth of probate. If you got a $500,000 life insurance policy, well, you can plan on about $35,000 of probate costs, lawyers' fees, and that's on top of the time, expense, and headache of getting through it. There's an old saying from someone who admittedly really hated probate that the cost of probate expands to consume the value of the estate. And the idea is somebody dies without designating people to get their assets, lots of people are going to show up with their hand out and say, hey, I took care of her for all of those years. Or, hey, he told me he was going to, give me $25,000 to do this. And everybody's going to need a lawyer, and it's just generally a huge mess. So what can you do to avoid the death probate, as we call it? Number one is have joint tenancy on things. As I've used the example before, if my wife and I own our house jointly, when I die, that asset doesn't have to go through probate. So a lot of people do this with their elderly parents, put son's name on the house, put son's name on the bank account, which solves one problem and creates a whole pile of other ones. If you're on your mom's account and you file bankruptcy, well, they're going to come in and take, at a minimum, half of the value of that account, which is just mom's money, but because you're a joint owner of it, they're going to take at least half of it. If you get divorced while your mom is still alive, then your spouse is going to get at least a quarter of that. She's going to get half of your half. He or she's going to get half of your half. So joint tenancy works okay, but you got to die in the right order. If I'm joint tenants on my mom's bank account and I die, that 50 cents on every dollar is an asset that now is gone and is out of my estate and goes to my mother, and there can be gift consequences to that sort of stuff. So you can do joint tenancy, and it works to solve some problems while creating a whole pile of others. The second thing you can do is start with a will, but just remember that the term probate is Latin for to prove the will. So creating a will does not avoid probate, it actually creates probate. And so along with your will, you need just a simple, revocable, living trust, which is, like I said, an entity that you control during your lifetime, and everything that's owned in the trust